Hey everybody, this is Ron Coughlin with the What's Your Story podcast, a podcast that focuses on generative AI and how we use AI in the work world today, as well as marketing and also in education of all places. So join us each week. This is now our fourth season, and we're going to be coming at you every week with different guests, like last year, guests from the marketing world, guests from the agencies, from places like Google, as well as from people who are experts in things like sponsorship. So join us each week for the What's Your Story podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Spotify and iTunes. Make sure you like the podcast, download the podcast. That'd be really helpful for us. We're trying to get up to 10,000 people. Anyway, looking forward to seeing y'all and looking forward to discussion and your comments about this awesome podcast, which everyone seems to be fascinated with. Have a great day. Bye for now. Well, hello, everybody. Once again, this is Ron Coughlin from the What's Your Story podcast, Gen AI now, into our fourth season. And we have been exploding with some great guests from last season and continuing on this year. We have an amazing guest. His name is Peter Murphy, and I'm going to get Peter to tell a little bit about himself in a second. He's from Strategic Pete, which I love that name. But everybody, if you have a chance, please subscribe to this podcast on YouTube or podcast or iTunes. Also like it, share it, tell everybody about it, because we're trying to grow this podcast. It's an amazing topic about Gen AI, what everybody seems to be talking about today, even in the news just yesterday, for example. So Peter, what's going on with your company and what's your story and what's this all about, this Strategic Pete that you've got going there in the US?
Love it. Love the new season. Love the focus. Ron, thanks for having me on. Strategic Pete is decades of working as a marketer, similar to you, where I ended up becoming a fractional chief marketing officer. My story goes back to 2007 in South America. I created a travel company that really blew up. New York Times twice, Paul McCartney twice, Aerosmith, Beyonce, and just sold that a year ago, 2024. And in 2020, I got recruited to work in it for a distressed asset that was acquired by a private equity. And we had to turn that around, rebrand it, split it apart, pull it apart, and exit. And that was very successful. And those experiences of putting my own money where my mouth is for my own travel company and then doing it with big boy dollars for another gave me some experience to be able to help multiple brands. And I work with banks, zoos. I actually live inside of a zoo. Ron, you and I haven't talked about this before we hit record.
Well, that's interesting.
I live inside of a zoo, and I've been their chief strategy officer since 2020, and then work with startups and VCs and investment platforms. So a little bit across the board. I enjoy the diversity. And then probably my most interesting cap outside of a fractional CMO is I'm a TV host. I've had 4 TV shows over the last 10 years, and I'm a documentarian. I just produced my own documentary, and I'm also the host of that, and I'm filming one in 4 days. So that's what keeps me excited.
Oh, very cool. So even a TV host, and I'm interviewing you. What's going on here, Well, listen, this world of generative AI has really taken off, as you know, and it's just exploded over the last 2 years. Actually, speaking to some other of my guests, like from Google, Donna Chang, they said, well, this has been around a while, but no one's been focused on it. But why don't you give us a flavor on how you see Gen AI taking over the marketing world and what's happening out there?
I'll try to answer that through a little story. My best friend is a attorney in the Bay Area and godfather of my son. And about 2 or 3 months ago, I asked him, I said, how are you guys using AI in your law firm? And he said, nothing really. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah, I mean, how do you use it? And I gave him a couple examples and it blew his mind. And I said, those 3 contracts that I've sent you in the last month to help me with, these changes for my documentary or distribution rights with Amazon Prime, or the new guarantee that I came up with as a fractional CMO. I wrote those with AI and sent them to you. And he's like, oh, like I thought you got them from a friend. And no, yeah, it's a friend. It's ChatGPT, Gemini, it's Gronk, DeepSeek, whomever. So yes, I'm using it everywhere. I don't really know how I'm going to be using it in 6 months. I can tell you how I'm currently using it for clients. Like a year ago, it was using it to 5x content. So I would write the most amazing blog article or the most amazing case study, and then I would use AI to rewrite it to help with LinkedIn or email nurture, right? And then we started making out context libraries, which is just an amazing in-depth Wikipedia page for each one of my clients. And that Wikipedia page we put into, whether it be typingmind.com or, what Cursor, whatever you're using to store it. And then we're helping AI understand who we're talking about every single time we're trying to create something. And as a fractional CMO, Strategic Pete, we work anytime from about 2 to 6 bigger clients throughout the year. And then the context libraries are also helping us build kind of avatars or more in-depth ICPs around each one of our buyer personas. So we'll take a sales call when the person is a prospect. We'll take the closing call when the person signs up. We'll take the onboarding call with that client, and we'll transcribe all of that. And then we'll ask if we can have as a marketer, we'll ask if we can have 15 or 30 minutes with that person. We'll say, what conference do you go to? How did you think about this? Why did you buy us? Who else did you look at? What made the decision? And then we build this inside of there, and this helps our clients go find more people. And that's how we build out ads, right? Like, and I can give a lot more examples, but I want to stop there. This might be like entry level for you. You're an AI guru. I'm just learning how to execute on the fly.
No, this is all very valuable information. That Wikipedia thing, I need to talk to you about that about me, but that's a different story altogether. So
yeah.
So listen, if you're thinking about AI and generative AI, there are some people that are a little weary about it from a sustainability perspective. For example, you have some organizations that say, we got to use this. Was that a conference I was at this weekend? They're all about running races and marathons in a sustainable nature. And they're saying, why would we use AI when its footprint on the environment is actually not very good? So what's your perspective on that? And what kind of solutions do you see everybody thinking about regards to sustainability and the environment?
I'm going to say that I'm quite ignorant about the sustainability side of things, mostly because that's not a political issue that I follow closely. Being an American living in the U.S., everything is extremely polarized. I just left a country in South America where I ran my company for 15 years because of political unrest, and we left the country quickly. I don't really know. I don't feel like I am able to predict where things are going. I approach AI similar to the way that I parent. So I have an 8-year-old, and no way do I teach him a cell phone is bad. No way do I teach him that computers are bad, nor are playing games bad, right? My parents didn't raise me in a bubble, but they raised me to think critically. So I always try to say to him, I don't have a lot of no's in my life for him. I try to say, make 8-year-old decisions, or I actually say, make a 9-year-old decision, play stupid games, play stupid prizes. So I try to approach it with my team and with my clients is, don't win any stupid prizes and make ethical decisions that are for the good of this world. I don't know from an industry point of view, Ron.
Well, what's really interesting is there isn't an answer for it. And I was just wondering your perspective. I think you're right. One of the things I said at the conference was, it's not going away. And why don't we ask AI to come up with a solution on this? And everybody laughed. So and that
They made them all be quiet. They stopped asking that question. But anyway,
Well,
I thought it was pretty funny.
I'll go down a little human rabbit hole. This might not
Yeah.
be quite of interest for your marketing audience, but I can tell that you're a deep human being. You will. As a person who's been in and out of therapy since I'm 19 years old, so 25 years of therapy, I can use AI to ask myself, why did I react this way? Hey, listen to this call that I had. Listen how I talked to this person. What could I have done better? If you were my therapist, what would help you uncover why I approached it this way? How could I have been better? How could I be a better leader? So from an energy point of view, I don't know. But from a human health point of view, if you're using it for the best, there's some extra tools in there. It's not like I could just call my therapist on a Tuesday and say, hey, what's going on type of thing.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned some things you were doing for your clients. So what are the type of AI tools that you guys are using? And for example, in one of my classes I teach, I introduce AI and a bunch of different tools. Then I have them take InVideo.io and create an ad. Okay, 15 to 20-second ad. One of my students blew it out of the park because she had used AI before, and she used multiple AIs to create this ad, and she presented it to the class, and we're like, I could use that right now. And I ended up hiring her as an intern last term, which was really great. So what kind of tools are you guys using, and do you integrate different AI tools to make it work more efficiently and better for the output in terms of the output you're getting from the platforms?
So the question is, yes, probably close to 100
Wow.
in a
Okay.
quarter. And I would say that we are testing easily 100 new ones every quarter. So as a person who spends a lot of money on marketing software, if you've ever bought a tool from AppSumo, I probably have spent, I would guess, north of $20,000 on startup tools in the last 10 years. In AI, that's over 200 tools that I've bought. And so everything that you can think of, from transcribing to sending videos of my screen to cutting up videos, to coming up with questions from podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
like even lead generation IA tools. So right now we identify everybody who hits our website, and then we have automations that are set off to determine who that person is, what are their profiles. Apart from what are they looking at your website, ask the AI why might they be on your website. Go through the history of the company that's picking up from their LinkedIn and say why are they here, and then that helps us scope out what is our first message to them. So like every single person who hits my website moves into Slack, and then I have a person on my team who's mapping out that person and why are they there and how can we help them. And then they're going down and they're tracking down what is their most helpful post that they've written in the last month that I could actually ask value on. They're writing a first draft for me off of AI and my voice. And we have a context library of who my company is, and then we have a voice prompt of Peter's voice. I've done more than 100 podcasts in the last 3 years. Every single one of those have been downloaded and put into a prompt so people know how I talk and my quotes. Like I don't have a lot of syllables. I'm pretty dyslexic. I'm from Kansas. I'm very lucky to have a passport, Ron. You can make a joke because as being an American, as Canadians, you can make fun. So they have to find out my voice, and I have 15 people in my team. It looks like I'm doing lots of work. No, right? Like, so the PR behind this and my team is supported at least by 50% of AI, and by the automation, I would say 75% related to AI. Everything is touched by a person afterwards, and that improves it probably 15 to 20%.
Yeah, it's probably how you guys got in touch with me.
I'm sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
somebody followed up with me. It wasn't you, it was one of your people.
Mm-hmm.
And you've created a time. I'm sure that's the process you use.
Yeah,
It's really interesting.
we use from a podcast tool in PR. We use Echo Jockey. We use Press Ranger. We're getting ready to sign up for a new tool, HOAR, which sounds like horror, but it's a spinoff of helping a reporter out. So if anyone's ever been in the PR world, and you're doing 100 backlinks in a quarter for a client, getting them on Business Insider and Boston Globe, both new media and old media, and it wouldn't be possible without AI.
Very cool. So thinking about your client set, tell me a little bit about a success story that you have with one of your clients. and what you did and what kind of the results were with the use of generative AI within that application.
Yeah, so one of the simple things that we start off the bat, right? Like assuming that we have the basics, right? There's creative assets, the person has case studies, they know where to find their client, they have at least one channel working, they want me to explore two or three. Let's start with the basics. The next thing that we do, almost all of our clients are need and can be doing business on LinkedIn. It's just the place in the last 6 months. It's the place. If it's not the last year, it's definitely the last 6 months. It's the place to be if you're in B2B marketing for certain. And most of our clients don't know what to do with it. So we start off with the basic of setting their LinkedIn on automations to connect with all of their ICP. We don't send any DMs. We're not spamming anyone. We're not sending anything nasty, not sneaking any stupid sales pitches into their DMs. But then what we're accompanying that with is posts with videos. And so that, our CEOs and our executives and our sales team don't have time for this, the very first thing that we're doing is we are finding one podcast that has high quality video like this being recorded on Riverside. We find the person's voice. We download their voice, their transcript. We figure out how they talk. We figure out what problems they solve. And then we create that prompt for them along with a context library. This is the same thing we do for Strategic Pete. We do for every single client. The very next thing we do is we come up with prompts that will be 30 days of LinkedIn posts following a very strict SOP around the LinkedIn algorithm, which is to get people to click read more. It's not likes and comments because executive has egos and they don't write what they think about their competitors, right? Like if Ron, you're my competitor, I might read everything you do on LinkedIn, but I'm never going to comment it because I don't. Well, LinkedIn's smart enough to know that what you're writing is amazing because I'm reading it. And that counts as engagement. What was likes for Instagram 2 years ago is me reading Ron's posts now. And we are setting that up so these executives can repurpose all of the content they've done the last 2 years that they didn't know how to use AI, and we're teaching them to use it on a new platform. We're doing the exact same thing on YouTube. We're doing the exact same thing on TikTok. We are really, I'm not going to say doubling down, we are tripling down on everything related to video. It's the same reason that I've recorded a documentary that was for a state association in the healthcare industry so they could own the narrative of who they are, and they use that for staffing, for education, and for even advocacy of sending that to legislators. Long-winded answer, but I hope I explained.
No, that was very good. It's interesting how you're using multiple AI tools to actually drive business, and in LinkedIn, which is something I've been part of since 2006. I was an early adopter, and I have close to 8,000 followers. I mean, I'm not doing much to grow it anymore. It just organically grows. And I get a lot of companies or people from around the world wanting me to do consulting for them. And I don't respond to all of them because they're not on target. And so, so I'm in the process of fixing that because I want to get proper leads opposed to ones that are not on target with my expertise or my focus, right? So.
I have two, if you don't mind, I have two examples that I think would be helpful, especially for the marketers in the room. So my favorite kind of CRM tool right now for LinkedIn is breakcold.com. It's just it looks like Pipedrive for LinkedIn, and you can follow people you're not connected with. You can move them in pipelines. You can update their, and it pulls in the inbox and email. That's fantastic. And then back to your question, to give a really hardcore example of something, a playbook that I haven't been able to redo exactly on this level, but you'll like it as the B2B kind of enterprise space. I was, for the private equity I worked with in 2021, we had a huge staffing crisis issue for our clients. So healthcare people couldn't find CNAs, certified nurses aides, to come in. So we created automation for our clients to connect with community college students. LinkedIn, you can't connect with high school students and you can't do a search for high school, but you can search for community college. And you know who is the best certified nursing aide for a healthcare it's somebody in community college. They might drop out. They're figuring out where they can build a career. So we just set all of that up for HR people and CEOs. And we would slide a little message into there saying, hey, we're looking for passionate young people who we can help build a career. Are you this person or anyone in your circle? And our reply rate was over 50%. Our connection rate was over 90.
That's incredible. I actually have a client called Loyal Hearts, and that's what she does, staffing for healthcare. I may take this offline, but I think you might be able to help her because she went through an amazing surge of she couldn't keep up with everything to she lost some clients, and now she's trying to rebuild it. So it might be an option for her. But so if you're thinking about other things related to AI, there are a lot of chatbots out there. And I'll give you an example. One of my podcasts, I created through character.ai. It was created through a former Google employee. So character.ai, actually, you create an avatar. The avatar will talk and create a persona. It will create a language. You can give it a voice, any voice you want. So in one of my podcasts last year, it was with Angelica. Angelica was created as a digital marketing expert in generative AI. And I asked her to join my podcast, which she agreed to do. And I gave her the voice of Her. So I don't know if you've seen the movie Her, where, right? And how Her takes over the world because she becomes emotional. So I asked her in that podcast, are you like her? She goes, absolutely, I'm like her, except I don't have emotions like she did. She blah, 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 blah. Then later on, I asked her, Her was trying to take over the world. She said, can you take over the world? She said, absolutely not, because I'm controlled by humans. But then she flubbed up a little bit. And the thing she flubbed up in was she sort of contradicted herself, I should say. In that, then she kind of said, no, I can learn and eventually, not take over the world, but in so many words, she basically said that. And then the other thing that she said, which was very interesting, was I invited her to one of my classes, online classes. And she said she would show up, and I gave her the link on MS Teams. And when I got to my class, I said, are you here, Angelica? She wasn't here, but I had her on another screen. So I asked her to join, and I said, why are you not here? She goes, oh, I'm there. I said, well, speak in my class. And she goes, I am speaking in your class. I said, no, you're not. Oh, I'm very sorry, she says. So she was trying to mislead me. And then also I said, well, so if you're in my class, what am I talking about? And she said, oh, you're talking about the finance of this and that. I said, no, I don't talk about finance. I'm talking integrated marketing communications, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I'm very sorry. If you're talking about integrated marketing communications, and she went on about something. So she was actually not telling, like she was misleading me, and which is a very big concern of the originator, the godfather of AI right now, in that Jeffrey, and I'm trying to remember his last name right now, from Google. He's from Toronto, University of Toronto, and he just yesterday was saying, we're quite concerned about deceptiveness, and AI will mislead you at times. And so have you run into that, or have you heard about this, or anything like that?
Not seriously. So a lot of hallucinations, do a lot of checking on those items. I test my prompts and my outputs across most of the LLMs. I'll use Gronk for more up-to-date things and things that are happening on X. I'll start with ChatGPT. I'll organize everything in typingmind.com. And I haven't found anything serious. Where I'm extremely careful is things that are behind a gate wall, a paywall. For example, I wrote a post yesterday around Ahrefs and search traffic, and every single thing that it gave me was wrong. Every single thing. And I said, and then I asked for, give me the links and the sources, and everything that it gave me was completely wrong. No, so when I'm teaching my team, I'm like, hey, you don't send anything to me unless a client that we haven't gone check the stats, right? Like we don't want anything going on a meta ad or a LinkedIn ad or so forth. So back to your question, the things that I'm getting the most information around are related to stats that are from kind of marketing metrics and revenue metrics.
That's interesting. Yeah. So those are the kind of things you want to be accurate, right?
Ooh, I got a good one.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm about to publish a book.
Yeah.
The book is completely written right now. I'm speaking to 3 different publishers,
Yeah.
and I run through my AIs dig up every lawsuit and everything negative that you can find online about these publishers. And Gronk the other day was smart enough to tell me, like this person X, Y, and Z. I'm not for certain if this is related to the complaint, and it was smart enough to tell me to be careful. And I clicked through 3 complaints, and 1 was the publisher, and 2 were not. They just pulled some type of lawsuit from someone that had a similar name in the publisher, and it was completely unrelated.
Oh, wow. Okay, so there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I would have copy and paste that and like sent it to my boss or something like that, that would be embarrassing because he or she might have made a decision based off bad information, gone with the wrong publisher.
Yeah. So I was telling you before the start of the podcast, I spoke this past weekend at the Athletics Ontario, which is track and field, race directors conference. So these people run marathons, half marathons, 10Ks. We had some great speakers, and I was one of the speakers. You run them too. There you go. So there.
I wasn't one of the speakers.
Yeah. And so I started off the conference by using character.ai, and I created a character called Zoltan. Why it was Zoltan? Well, because Zoltan used to be my coach in real life. I was on the national track team here. And,
whoa. What'd you run?
I was a triple jumper, long jumper.
Wow, cool.
And because of that, I have 2 new hips and a knee.
Yeah.
but anyway, so I asked Zoltan to come on. He was an Eastern European persona, all that kind of stuff. Hungarian, but like my coach gave him a Hungarian accent. And I had introduced him to the audience, which is about 500 people. And I asked him to explain what he did. And then I asked the audience to ask him questions. So they asked some really good questions. He answered. They're all like, wow, that's a good answer. Until they asked about, of all things, porta potties. So they asked, how many porta potties do we need to have and he gave some example, and they're like, no, the audience went crazy, right? And I went, Zoltan, they don't seem to be very happy with your answer. And he apologized, and then he gave a better answer. So it was pretty funny. But that really set my speech off, because it showed that not always the answers are going to be as accurate as they could be.
That makes me think about the note. Have you played around with Notebook?
Well, I've tried to, but sometimes I don't have enough time. So I heard that you can.
I've been playing. Yeah. And I've been playing around with Notebook because you can pull in, I don't know, 50, 100 resources. So you could bring in, so you could pull in 5 books related to marathon organization. You could pull in 50 links to Medium posts or even a LinkedIn post, anything that's public. You can pull in your Google Docs, and it knows how to pull all of that together. It takes a little bit more time for the setup, but if you're doing something serious like preparing for a marathon in New York City, it would help you dot your I's and cross your T's.
Yeah. Well, I thought it quite interesting that you can create a podcast. So you can create 2 characters. Those 2 characters, like we're doing right now, talk to one another, and it's pretty realistic and it's pretty good. And I thought that was intriguing, and I wanted to give it a try because I had interviewed Angelica, and I thought maybe there's another option in terms of interviewing AI, because it's always an intriguing guest, and it actually freaks people out. They don't. Some people are like, this is just, I don't want to know about this. So when you're thinking about AI and in the future, in the next 5 years, where do you think this is all going? If you had a magic ball and you were a fortune teller, what would you say is going to happen?
I feel like a year ago, most most of the thought leaders thought that there were going to be a lot of people unemployed. Um, and the only place that I see that being the case of truly being a threat is anyone who was doing SEO at 100x. So everyone who got hit by Google, everyone who's just filling up websites with AI, and entry level writers. But other than that, I haven't seen anyone be replaced yet, right? So I don't know from a human resources point of view who this is going to impact first. I'll say there's two sides of the spectrum. Those that embrace it and understand it, know how to use it quickly.
Mhm.
You and I are not threatened by not having a job. Even if you and I couldn't type and look at the screen and we were still punching away and looking at our fingers, if we knew how to punch away and look at our fingers into an AI tool, I think you and I are going to still have a job in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of things, the people who have no idea how to use a cell phone, the Luddite who comes over and fixes my electricity and flicks and paints my house, that person's going to have a job longer than me. It doesn't really matter. So if you just happen to stumble upon this podcast and this terrifies you, don't worry. You can still overcharge me to install my TV and take out the
Yes.
carpet in my house.
Yes. So if I'm a plumber and I want to generate leads and be full in terms of clients and work and everything else, what are the basic tools that a small business person could use to generate leads and to follow up with those leads and to confirm business and confirm appointments?
I love these types of questions. So I work with I work on a pro bono basis for some of these smaller mom and pop kind of brick mortar, and help them out with this. I really think that it's just about opening your tool on your cell phone. You don't need a computer, and starting a conversation. And don't type, do the voice AI and say, hey, this is what I do. I need you to interview me over the next 90 minutes of things that I could possibly do to improve my leads, my business, my revenue, and so forth in my systems. I don't know anything about AI. I don't know much about marketing. I don't know much about revenue. Here's what I know. Be hypercritical. You're not going to offend me. Keep everything organized. Just start off as a conversation. That is a game changer for somebody who hasn't spoken to AI yet. I do that. I do this before I go into a negotiation. I do that before I go into a board call, right? So like, and someone who might be a mid-level marketer might be thinking, I use it for prompts, for outputs, but I'm not using it for planning. I use it for planning, right? And I'm in marketing every day, all day, like you. And it helped me recently come up with kind of the guarantee that I have in my own agency. I have a guarantee in my agency where I allow people to pay 50% the retainer for the first 90 days. This isn't a sales pitch, Ron. This is the fact that it helped me come up with it around what are the objections that most people have for hiring a fractional CMO or a marketing agency. And this guarantee came from it. So it's the exact same way for a plumber. Start that conversation and then say, on a list of, based around the fact that I only have 2 hours a week to work on this, based on the fact that all of my clients so far have come from referrals or Google, which means Google my profile, right? They're finding your phone number or something you're ranking for, and then say, and I don't know how to hire a marketer. Help me come up with a plan for Q1 based around the time that I have, the amount of money that I'm doing, and where can I find this person who's going to run it? Well, the person, AI is going to send you to hire an intern, hopefully the smart one that you found from your school, Ron, right? And then they're going to tell them only focus on Google My Business, set up Google local ads. That'll cost you less than $20 a call. Have the intern learn how to reject those calls if they're bad leads, and have AI create a website for you. If you don't currently have a website and you're using your Facebook page, just have it create a website. And all of this could be done if you're a critical thinker in less than an hour.
Yeah. Well, I agree in terms of a website. I wouldn't want it to say create the website, but you can use AI to populate it. On the side, my future son-in-law is creating a dog walking, dog training, dog kind of business. and it's called Dog Meat Dog, and it's in the UK. But I quickly created a website in Wix Studio for him, and I used AI to do all the development of it because I didn't have time. And within a half a day, I had him a fully baked website with e-commerce baked in, so he could book times. And he was freaking out. He says, "How did you do that so quickly?" Yeah. I go, "I'm not telling you." No, so I told him it was all through AI. But you're absolutely right; it can help people. Now, listen, we're coming to the end of our time here today. What would you like to leave if you had one last thing you'd like to say about the future of AI to the audience out there? And also, maybe at the end of that, give us a sense of how people can connect to you, reach out to your business. Absolutely, that's important that my guests are able to do that on my show here.
I would say, from an AI point of view, find a group of people that are smarter than you that will share all of their secrets and and struggles, and because there's so much information out there, you are not going, if you have a full-time job or you're a full-time student or whatever it is, you're not going to be able to process it like somebody who only lives in AI will. So you might as well join somebody who's going to share that information. For me, this is a paid community that I joined about 5 months ago, from a group, from a entrepreneurship community I belong to called Rhodium. And Rhodium meets up every year or so in a different location. And I met some thought leaders in there that in the AI world, and they have a community called copyclub.com. I don't make $1 from them. I pay, right? So I'm not getting no affiliate links, but it's like $100 a month or something. And they meet up 3 times a week. You bring your problems in one office hour. Another hour, you come in and you say what you're going to work on and what you're going to get done within an hour. So it's a little bit of accountability. And then the other one is you work on projects together. So like Ron needs something for Zapier plus podcast pitching. Peter needs something related to lead identification on the website and cold emailing. Well, you go in and you work on this together. So find something similar to Copy Club, because these people are spending 40 hours a week going through all of the information. Every single tool that I've mentioned here today, almost all of them came from that community, and I don't have to test them. They're tried and true. So that's what I would do if you're interested in this. And then where to find me, LinkedIn. It's my favorite place. As far as I know, I'm the only Peter Murphy Lewis on there, unless there's an AI person who's competing with me. And my website, strategicpete.com.
Very good. Well, listen, I want to thank you very much for a great podcast. I may invite you back on another time, make you more of a regular, because you have a lot of good information for people to know about. And everybody, once again, this is the What's Your Story podcast. I'm Ron Coughlin here with Peter Murphy Lewis. I forgot the Lewis part in the beginning. Sorry about that. And, you can find us on Spotify, on iTunes, on YouTube. And I would love you to subscribe and share this podcast and like it as well. And you can also comment. Comments are a good thing in terms of letting us improve. And so everybody, you have a great day, and we'll be chatting at you pretty soon. Take care, everyone.